Act strengthen coordination between tax policy, budgeting, and public expenditure management.
Yeah, the Act has done so because the major challenge you have in the public expenditure management is in our debt management. Because we see that the country is generating revenue, but much of that revenue being generated is going towards debt financing. So this is the major challenge you are having. So what we are now saying is that in the budgeting, what government need to do is to find a way to cut down borrowing. If government don't cut down borrowing, most of the money generated will also go into deficit financing. So what we should do is to look at what we are going to generate and let's tailor our budget to what we can generate. I know that government say it has a lot to do, a lot of capital projects, so they need to borrow to meet up. But again, you are borrowing, you should also know that in financing your debt, almost more than 50% of the revenue you are generating is being used to finance the debt. So at the end of the day, ask yourself, are we getting it right? So government should try as much as possible to cut down recurrent expenditure. Some recurrent expenditure is over bloated. Cut down so much recurrent expenditure, so much excesses, so much money being spent by so many ministers and government parastatals that are not necessary. You cut it down. Our recurrent expenditure can be cut down up to 50%. It's possible. People will not die. People can still manage the official cars they're using. They're buying brand new cars for them every year. So you cut down your recurrent expenditure. You make sure the capital budget you want to engage are the one that is cash backed. You don't just engage in capital budget that are not cash. We can see contractors are hanging all over the place. They are being owned after they must have completed the assignment given to them. So I feel where we need to get it right is not just projecting our tax revenue, using it in terms of budgeting revenue. We also have to look at borrowing and debt financing.
Now recently the finance minister, I think before the National Assembly, talked about we're able to only meet 10 trillion naira? We're talking about we have a shortfall of like 30 compared to what the plans they had earlier, like 40 trillion, I think. So what do you think? Do we attribute this to poor tax management at present, or is it something that with this act, I think we won't be seeing this kind of result reoccurring?
Yeah, the Tax Reform Act, without doubt, will increase our revenue generation. But the management of this revenue generation is very, very important. And the management of this revenue generation has to do with our budgeting.
Yes.
So you can't budget.
You indicated earlier.
Yes, you can't place a budget that is not implementable. If you watch what is going on in the country, so many budgets in the past has not been able to be implemented, and I think for me it is wrong. We must make sure we have implementable budget. We keep reading budget figures every year. At the end of the day, we can't implement this budget, and that is not good for us. So for the first time, we should have a budget that is implementable, a budget that can be linked to our tax revenue generation or other revenue generation, and at the same time ensure that we cut down the borrowing and our debt financing. That's the only way we can get it right. If we continue to do the same thing, we are going to have the same result. They say it's only a madman that will be doing the same thing always and expect a different result. You can't be doing the same thing always and expect a different result. If you do another budget and keep borrowing money, keep financing debt, that budget will also end up not to be implementable.
Okay. Now, what provisions exist to reduce tax evasion, avoidance, and revenue leakages, especially in high-risk sectors?
Yeah, one of the areas is to monitor bank transactions, just like the Nigerian Tax Administration Act has provided in Section 29 that banks are obligated to report transactions on quarterly basis to the revenue authorities. For individuals, transactions that have reached 25 million and above, and for companies, transactions that have reached 100 million and above. So by doing so, these individuals we definitely find a way to ensure they pay their taxes. Companies will find a way to ensure they pay their taxes. Of course, it's difficult to do cash transaction. Most transactions are done through the bank. So if the revenue authorities are being monitoring the bank transaction, ensuring that people are paying tax, I'm sure many people will also not escape from paying tax. Then another one is digital tax collection. Just like e-invoicing and other packages that are coming. When government introduced digital tax collection, it also increased tax collection and cut down the loopholes and the leakages. As I said, there was a time I was in the United States, and that was 11 years ago. As you are lodging in a hotel, as you are paying your tax, the sales taxes are being deducted on the point of payment and remitted instantly to the government. Unlike what we see here, you go to the hotel and pay, the hotel collect your VAT and decide whether to remit or not. But we have a system where, as you are paying at that point of sale, the VAT is automatically remitted. It will cut down leakages. The revenue authority will even don't have more time to stay there writing to any organization or hotel to do VAT verification or VAT audit, because the system is automatically remitting the revenue straight to government. So when you employ digital collection, digital technology in tax collection, it will help to reduce leakages.
Now, Nigeria is known to have this revenue to GDP ratio, which remains among the lowest globally. How can the Act help address this issue?
Yeah, the GDP, the tax to GDP ratio, even though we say is lowest among the countries, I still, some of us are still doubting it, because sometimes we don't put into consideration taxes collected by the local government. We don't put into consideration taxes collected by the state. The local government is collecting almost 21 taxes. The state is collecting almost 23 taxes. The federal government is collecting about 11 taxes or more. So when you bring all these taxes together, I'm sure our tax to GDP ratio will be measuring to almost other African countries, as we are saying. And I'm telling you, many Nigerians are complaining of multiple taxation. Like in FCT, in Lagos, in Owerri, people pay VAT when they go to hotel. They pay entertainment tax again after paying VAT. People pay consumption tax in Lagos. They pay VAT again. So some of these are not being put into consideration when they say we have low tax to GDP ratio. So the multiple taxation has taken up our tax to GDP ratio. I feel that the calculation is not right. So what I'm saying at this point is that the new Tax Reform Act, which implementation started, will also increase our tax to GDP ratio. But we also need to find a way to check multiple taxation and also ensure that we have right calculation when it comes to tax to GDP ratio.
Now, what measures do we ensure that tax reforms do not actually worsen inflationary pressures or cost push effects on businesses?
Yeah, the measures are there. The CBN is already taking a proactive measure to ensure that we don't have much cash transaction. CBN has been able to close up the cash withdrawal limit and also regulating the BDC to ensure that we don't create more problem. So that's number one. Then number two, the government is also making sure that people pay tax based on their capacity, not based on estimates. And that one is that if you go to the market, so many items have been exempted from VAT, basic food items, medical equipment, medical activities, drugs, pharmaceutical companies, sporting activities. So many things have been exempted from VAT. So many things have been zero rated as VAT, some have been exempted. So government has put in place all these things, and that will make us not have inflationary economy. And I'm telling you, if you go to the market, most of the things in the market has been exempted from VAT. And that will help us to ensure that the inflation doesn't take over the economy.
Now, Dr. Iwundu, before I let you go, do you see the Act promoting tax equity and fairness, especially for low-income earners?
Yeah, the Act is promoting equity and fairness. Right now, the Act is saying if you earn a minimum wage, the minimum wage is 70,000 and below, you're exempted from paying tax. Then we also discovered that apart from earning 70,000 and below, if you have other employment expenses like pension, rent relief, you can also earn up to 100,000 without paying any tax a month. That means if you earn up to 100,000 and you have pension deducted, you have your rent relief granted to you, and other employment expenses, you agree with me that at 100,000 and below, you have no tax to pay. So, mean that those any 100,000 and below, and let's say that should be around 1.2 million per annum, are totally exempted from paying tax. But what we are saying is that anybody earning 100,000 in Nigeria today, I see that person as a poor man. So we want government to also push up the threshold. We can push it up to 150 or 200,000 a month. So we believe that since government has raised the threshold from 30,000 to 70,000 minimum wage, government also have the capacity to raise it up to 150 or 200,000. We will get to that point. We discover that so many Nigerians has been taken out of tax net because according to the president, you don't need to tax poverty. What you need to tax is wealth.
Yeah, the fruit. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Iwundu. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me once again.